All right. Okay. All right. I am here with Desmond Clark, a former NFL player and one of the best examples I know of a person who takes what he has learned at college or throughout his life and makes the most out of it. There's so many things that I've learned from Desmond that other people can learn from Desmond. And it's my honor here to interview him. Desmond, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I think with everything going on, I can actually say, yeah, these are good in my space that I hold.
So Desmond, you went to Wake Forest and you were an NFL player for a number of years. How was that experience for you and what it taught you overall in life?
As far as going to Wake Forest and being an athlete, I mean, I think the thing going to Wake Forest, it just opened my eyes to a different culture, different way of life, because I really never had spent much time outside of Lakeland, Florida, up until that point. I mean, I went to New York and for like a week for a basketball camp. I traveled with my family maybe a couple times to Alabama and Georgia, but I mean, 99% of my life was right there in Lakeland, Florida. So getting out, getting away from just the things that I was used to just opened me up. And I think that was the best part of the education of going to Wake Forest or just getting away from home, is discovering new people, new ways of lives, new cultures. And I believe that just helped me to develop as a young man.
Now, who were your influences when you were growing up that you looked to for an example?
My influences growing up were really based around my family and based around my coaches that I had playing football and basketball coming up through middle school. And even when I was 6, 7 years old, I had a chance today to talk to my first football coach, Jerry Odom, who was my coach when I was 6 years old. So that lineage of coaches, from Coach Odom going to Coach Gunder, and then going to Coach Jackson and Coach Joyner, and then going to Coach Joe and Coach Jones at high school, all the way out getting to college and having Coach Caldwell and then Coach Shanahan and, man, Lovie Smith. And, I mean, the great lineage of coaches that I had and leaders, and then getting into corporate America and being coached by good people like Jim Geek and Gary Rabine and Manny Amesqua. I've had so many great people to look up to and to gain great leadership from.
Yeah. After you graduated college, you were drafted into the NFL. How different of a world is that when your athleticism and the things you can do in college compare that to the pros?
Well, I mean, it's the same. It's just revved up a bunch of different levels, because when you're in high school, you know, you go to college because you're the best of high school players. And there's how many colleges out there that play football? And then now when you get to the pros, you're the best of the best because you get to the pros because you were the best of the best in high school, in college. And there's only 32 teams. So now it's like a distilling mechanism where it's just squeezing out the best of the best. So now, you know, you don't have over half of the team or over half of the people you're playing with not being the best of the best. Now you're going up against the best of the best all day, every day, in practice and in games. So it's just making each level it just becomes harder because the competition that you're facing, but obviously you're there. So you were the best of the best. You just got to learn how to compete at that level every day.
And now you're very involved in the community, and there's a lot of things I want to get to you as far as that. One more question about your pro career. Who would you say of your coaches that, you know, you played for Mike Shanahan, you played for Lovie Smith, for your coaches and your quarterback, who are the two guys that you either learned the most from or that you enjoy playing with?
Well, I learned the most from my tight ends coach when I was in Chicago, Rob Boris. Mm-hmm. He was a guy that he always answered the questions how and why. And I believe he was the best teacher that I've ever had as a coach. So it wasn't even the head coaches. And of course, when you play sports, at that level, it's more about your position coach than it is the head coach.
Yep.
Just when you're working in corporate America, it's more about your department head than it is about the CEO.
Sure.
So I've learned a great deal from different coaches, like my coach in college, my receivers coach. Man, just so many lessons. But I would say that Rob Boris was the coach that I learned the most from, that I've been able to take with me and apply in real life.
And being part of the Bears, you had a chance to taste the Packer-Bear rivalry. What would you say is the best rivalry in the NFL right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It just depends on what city you go to.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you got Dallas and Philly, you got Dallas and Washington, you got Bears and Packers, you got, Denver and Oakland and KC.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those rivalries are great, and it just depends on which team you play for and what part of the country that you live in, where you're going to say where the best rivalries are at. Of course, I'm going to be biased and say, hey, it's Green Bay and
In Chicago. Yep.
But people in Minnesota are going to say Green Bay and Minnesota. So,
right.
I mean, there's so many great rivalries in NFL that I don't think there's one to trump another.
Now, and the chance of working with your communities at each team that you were with, is that an easy thing to do for an athlete, be able to go out, introduce himself to the community, be open to different, being parts of different groups and stuff? Or is that a little bit harder than you would think?
No, it's relatively simple. Not always easy because you got time demands from, the sport that you play. And then when you're not playing that sport, obviously you have your family, people that you want to spend time with. But for me, it wasn't a thing of, I don't want to do this, or this is something that's overcomplicating my life, because I understand that it was especially my community back in Lakeland, Florida, that helped me get to where I was. So for everything that they gave me, I just always wanted to give something back.
And joining the community you have, and you've been one of the guys that I've been able to look at and say, wow, I can't believe all the things that he's involved in. There's only so much time you have during a day to get things accomplished. I know one of the things you're involved in is 88 Ways Youth Organization. And they have a acronym TALKS. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, 88 Ways, I started doing 88 Ways back in 2014, but 2008, 2014, what we did, we went into school systems in Polk County, Florida, and here in Chicago, and we recruited mentors from the community to go in and mentor three students all at one time for an hour every week. And TALKS, just so people know, is an acronym for transferring a little knowledge systematically. And that's what we tried to go in and do, using the TALKS curriculum for really trying to build our reading skills, comprehension skills, and cognitive skills, cognitive behavior skills, which we see a lot of limitations there in the inner city with the school systems and the resources that they have. So it was always good to get people from the community to take leadership and take ownership of their community and go in these schools and help the students become better people.
How hard is it to talk to young people and convince them that they have the power to control their destiny, that they aren't victims, that they can go out and achieve, that they can realize their dreams? That's something it's harder to get across to youth now, or it depends on the individual. What do you say is the best way to get through to them?
I think you got to look at it differently. I don't know if I'm ever going to convince anyone of their potential. I know I try to. I know my goal is, this whole reason I wrote the book is to try to help people get to the next level of their success. But I'm not in control of how they receive that information. So the overall objective is not to say, okay, I convinced that person. The overall objective is to provide the inspiration, to provide the motivation, to provide the information to the younger generation and to influence them in any way that you can, so they can eventually realize for themselves, the aptitude that they may have to get to whatever point in life that they want to. I'm a firm believer that each individual has to take ownership within themselves to take the lessons and take the knowledge that's given to them and do something positive and powerful with it. Some people do, some people don't, for different reasons. But our job as leaders in the community is just to provide the motivation, inspiration, information, so that one day, hey, maybe it clicks in and they are able to now take ownership of it and do with it what people like myself did with it, and millions and millions and millions of others, because knowledge is transferred down every day. It's just what people decide to do with it. And I believe when you talk to the youth at an early age, they are more apt to take that information because of how they are so influential at a young age, and how they look up to a sports figure like myself or somebody in their community that has influence, that rubs off on them a certain way. And hopefully, you get to people young enough where you can have that positive influence on them, so that it sticks with them throughout their growth, and when they become older, that they continue to go down the path that you tried to help set for them.
You mentioned in your book, Principles of Winning, 5 Keys to Create a Standard of Excellence. Why don't you tell us a little more about that?
Well, Principles of Winning is like I said, these are not all of my experiences, but I share a lot of experiences in this book. I've lived the highest highs that someone can live, and I lived the lowest lows that someone can live, and everywhere in between. And I've learned a lot of great lessons in those times. I'm almost 43 years old. Be 43 years old next week, next Monday. And I really believe that these experiences were given to me, not to keep for myself, but to share with other people, so that they may learn from it, grow from it, take whatever that it is. But within this book, I give 5 of many, many different principles that I have to help people kind of reshape, reframe, or even just make their mindset even better than what it is right now. If I can possibly do that, to help them just continue to grow and get to that next level of success, or help them to walk into the vision that they have for themselves and their family and their business and whatever it may be. So hopefully I accomplish that mission of helping people. But like I said earlier, I won't know, and it's not really my job to know if I have or not. My job is just to give the effort, to put it out there with the information, the motivation, and the inspiration, and hope that I can influence someone.
Now, you mentioned the highs and lows. I know one of the things that I respect the most about you is your desire to stand up for the people you love, for the people that mean a lot to you. You had an incident where you're at your son's high school where you felt like he was being bullied, and then the school, for whatever reason, decided to, I'd rather let you tell the story, but explain to me what that was like, why that's so important, why standing up for something like that and not going along with what other people say, oh, well, we don't want you to do because of this or whatever reason. It makes absolutely no sense. Tell us about that experience.
Well, it wasn't that I felt like he was being racially bullied. I knew that he was being racially bullied. He had went to the school on 3 separate occasions before this one occasion, and just handled things in a nice, sweep it up under the rug type of fashion. But when this happened his senior year, it's like, okay, what the hell? Like, we just can't let him keep going through this, especially not his senior year of high school. Mm-hmm. But when I voiced my opinion loudly, clearly, and my ex-wife did at the same time, we were seen as making a scene. I was arrested for disorderly conduct.
What is that? There's so many definitions of disorderly conduct. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
I understand the premise of a lot of things that happened then, because it went to TMZ, which it should have never went to TMZ at the time it did, because it's still an ongoing investigation. So it was leaked in a way that I thought was to try to defame me. But if you look at that video, no matter what I said, my point was delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of that video, you see all of the kids in there clapping for what I had to say. And, I got to court and I was offered a plea deal. Me and my wife was offered a plea deal. She was charged with assault, and you see in the video
Mm-hmm.
that she
Yeah.
was charged for assault for what she did in that video, and all
Right.
she did was go up to the lady and ask her, "What did you say to my son?"
Right.
And then I picked her up and actually moved her out the way. So I think the whole thing was trumped up because of who I was, who I am. And in court, we were offered a plea deal. And the plea deal was, if you guys move back to Florida, we'll drop the charges.
Great. Yeah.
I said, okay, how much have I done in this community? I was a volunteer coach at that school for 2 years. First of all, now they don't want me to come back to the school to even watch my son's football game.
I heard about that. Yeah.
And then I get a state's attorney who would no longer return my calls. But just months prior to that, he was asking me, and I had agreed to go out into his community where he was trying to have influence and speak on his behalf to people of color, to Latinos in the Black community. And when this all happened, I called him. I was like, "You got to be serious. Are you really going to prosecute this?" And he stopped returning my phone call. So that gave me another look on how things kind of can work.
Yep.
But the thing that I said in the book, when I was asked, is protecting your name and your word protecting your reputation? I said, no, I think it's different. I think when you protect your name and your word, now you've put in so many deposits and people know your reputation that now your reputation can protect you when you get into a situation like that.
Right.
And I had over 200 letters written on my behalf that we were ready to hand in to the judge if we needed to. But of course, everything got dropped, and yeah, so.
One of the things I saw though is that you have to still call and tell them that you're coming. I mean, that to me is such a joke.
Say what now? I had to call and tell them I'm coming.
I heard that you had to that they took away your ability to go and watch the games. Like they said you can do that, but you have to alert them when you are coming.
Yeah, as if I was a threat.
Unbelievable. I can't believe the nerve that some people have.
As a coach for 2 years at that school. And I played basketball every Tuesday and Thursday morning with the staff at the school before school started.
You know,
now I'm some type of big threat.
You know, it's funny. When I was in college, I had a friend. That was really, where I grew up, there weren't many people of color around me. I grew up on Long Island. I went to a small Christian school. So when I got to college, and I was friends with a lot of different people. I became one of my best friends. I remember one time he said to me, if you woke up and you were African American, it would be your worst nightmare. And I thought, and I was so offended by when he said that. But what he meant was that you don't understand really what it's like for me in some of these situations, and where for you it would be okay. Where for me, I have to look out for a totally different amount of things. And that really educated me on a lot of what he was talking about. And I think just being able to experience things with him, meant, and it taught me a lot. And one of the NFL players, along with you, that I really love is Ben Watson. Mm-hmm. And I know when they had the events of Trayvon Martin, Ben Watson, as it was a religious man, wrote a letter on Facebook. To me, was just one of the best things I've ever seen written. Did you ever get a chance to see that?
Well, I didn't see that, but I know Ben Watson personally.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest compliments that he paid to me was saying that I was one of the guys that he looked up to.
Wow.
And even when I was at Wake Forest, I told him, stop making me feel like an old man. And I look at him playing ball last year with the Patriots. I think he ended up releasing and coming back. And I was like, this dude is 16 years in the league. And he told me he was 2 years in the league.
Right.
So I know what type of man he is. We actually went to a Christian retreat together out in Carlsbad, California, near San Diego. So I know what type of person he is. We've kept in contact over the years with a text message here or there. But I know I can imagine the type of letter that he wrote.
Yeah, it was so touching. But the one thing I'll never forget about Ben watching, and I show this to young kids, is the play against the Patriots in the playoffs. I don't know if you remember that. With the Patriots against the Broncos. And Brady threw an interception, which was rare enough. And the quarterback, I forget the name, he played with the Redskins first, came up with the Redskins, and he was traded to the Broncos. It's an all-pro quarterback, fast guy, was at a clear path to the end zone. And Ben was in the end zone, but on the other side of the field. So he had to run diagonally across the field. And there was no way you could ever think, man, this guy's going to catch it. But he said, well, let me just see how close I can get. And he could only see in his helmet just basically what was in front of him. And then by the time he caught up to the guy who intercepted the pass, he knocked him with such force out of bounds at the 1 yard line. He caught up to him that prevented Denver from scoring a touchdown. Really should have been a touchback because the ball looked like it was fumbled out of bounds in the end zone, which it would have been a touchback and a Patriots ball. But in the New England, you know how crazy Bill Belichick is in their office of pictures and everything. They are not allowed to have any pictures in games they lost. They wind up losing that game. But Belichick said if there was one play that ever deserves to be put up there, it's that play. Yeah,
no, he's a guy that great character, and that's what you see in that play. He could have just I'm too far away.
Exactly.
Nobody would have blamed him. Went after it and gave the effort that he always gives. And he even said himself, he goes, nobody would have got on me, nobody would have said anything, but I would have known. Right. I would have known that I didn't give it my best effort. I would have known that there was one play that I, kind of just let the circumstance overwhelm me, but he never thought that was acceptable for any other situation in his life. And I use that as an example for not only hustle, but paying attention, being involved, and really loving your teammates so much that you're willing to do that. Right. And pay attention to the little things. Yes. All of those things are very accurate. So now I know you are you're a financial advisor. You're one of the smartest people that I've come across on LinkedIn. The things that you do, things you're involved in. True Pettigrew is another guy I know for a while that does a lot of what you do and with the community and stuff. Could you tell us something about what you're doing now, your relationship with True or Marques Ogden, another guy I know real well? Your interaction with them. So I actually own a insurance agency called The Insurance People. So that's where my focus is at with my daily work, really specializing in home, auto, and commercial insurances. So I became co-owner there in BP about a year ago. It was in April. It might have been a year to the day. I believe it was April 16th. That's it's pretty amazing that we talk about that now. But I don't know Pettigrew at all. I do know Marques Ogden, and he was actually my coach when I decided last year that I was going to write a book and that I was going to build my speaking platform out to make it a professional endeavor and instead of just something I do on the side. So Marques was very, very instrumental with me doing the things that I'm doing now. So and I see him every day doing the same things that I'm doing, and I think he stole a couple things from me from what I do on LinkedIn. I see you out there, Marques, but I stole 10 times as much stuff from him. So that's what great artists do. We steal from each other. Right. I know. I've had a chance to talk to Marques when I first met him. He actually, I called him and he spent about 25, 30 minutes on the phone with me going over how he became successful as a speaker and the chances he got, and that he messed up his first time, but that he made sure he was prepared
the importance of being prepared so you don't miss that chance, and like how it took him a while and how basically it's just hard work. But what he did to be successful at that, and he was successful before, then he kind of had a setback, but he didn't let that setback define who he was.
Right.
And that's what I really love about Marques. There are a lot of things I've learned from him as well. I want to read you some of Ben Watson's the ending of what he wrote, because this I think is the most touching. It says, I'm encouraged because ultimately the problem is not a skin problem. It is a sin problem. Sin is the reason we rebel against authority. Sin is the reason we abuse our authority. Sin is the reason we are racist, prejudiced, and lie to cover our own. God has provided a solution for sin through his son, Jesus, and with it, a transformed heart and mind, one that's capable of looking past the outward and seeing what's truly important in every human being. The cure for Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, and Eric Garner tragedies is not education or exposure. It's the gospel. So finally, I'm encouraged because the gospel gives mankind hope.
Right. No, and he's absolutely right. I truly believe that this world will one people, but we have all of these different delineations and reasons and things that separate us: nation, color, nationality, all of this stuff. But when you look at everybody in this world, we're really trying to accomplish the same things. While we're here on this earth, we're trying to live a life of significance. We just go about it in different ways. And then because of not living in a way and not always thinking in a way where we're looking out for the best interests of other people as well as ourselves, and that selfishness,
Mm-hmm.
and like you say, that sinful nature that we have,
Mm-hmm.
that's what brings all of us down, and not allow more people to enjoy the life that we were put on this earth to enjoy. But that's life. That's, however the creator created it in the grand scheme of things, that's just how it turns out. But it's a shame because, there's no reason to treat anyone in a demeaning way. There's no reason why we need to look at someone that's different from us because they have a different look, different thought, different ideology. There's no reason for us to try to oppress them, suppress them, or demean them in any way, or think bad of them one way or another because of those different things. Me personally, I go out and I try to look at people just like he said, for who they are, hear in their heart and their head, and not make judgments because of their differences. So what he said there was powerful. That's a message that I also try to take forward and not only just say it, but also live it. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes that's difficult when you get put in certain situations. And I was just talking to a friend of mine and going through a difficult situation, but I had to ask myself, who am I going to be? Because of what I said I was going to be, and not because the situation dictates a different reaction for me. Nobody would have been upset if I would have reacted different. But I know, just like we talked about, I know who I said that I was going to be. So that's all that matters. So this is how I'm going to react to that situation. And I think, if we all can just step back for a moment and listen to the words of Ben and just think about who we say that we're going to be, and always be that person no matter what the situation is wanting us to react to, in the world will be a better place.
That's true, because we can't really account for what other people do, but we can account for what we say, how we react to it, and how we choose to live our lives. Right. And one of those things is, and we all suffer disappointment. We all fail at things. How do you handle failing at something, and what's your message to people who get down on themselves and feel like, failing at something is such something that they can't come back from?
Yeah. We don't go through life without hardships. If you show me somebody who went through life without hardships, it'll be the first person in the history of the world to have done that. We all have hardships, and what I've learned through my hardships and trying to become the best me that I can be is that we have to embrace the hardships, and that goes counterintuitive to the human nature. Embrace the hardships. Why? Because what else are you going to do? You're in that situation. You're in that hardship. That is the time and moment that you're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what we tend to do is fight against it. And when we fight against it, all we do is put ourselves in an emotional state that's not good for us. We get depressed. We get angry. We get sad. All of these different things that we go through emotionally because we're not embracing the situation that we're in. Yeah, like the COVID-19 situation. It's millions of people out there right now who are going through such a tough time in a time that they were hardworking. They were doing everything that they were supposed to be doing. They were living life the right way, and boom, all of a sudden, I'm unemployed. I got bills to pay. I got a kid that I got to raise, and I can't do that now. So what the heck am I going to do? The only thing we can do is embrace the situation and then ask this next question. Now what? Because that's the only way that that's the fastest way that we're going to get ourselves out of a hardship, out of a tough situation, out of a situation that we didn't ask for, is embrace it and ask ourselves, now what? What do I have to do in the next moment to the next moment to the next moment to dig myself out of whatever hole that was self-induced or not self-induced? And that's what I'll tell people, as hard as it seems and as positive as that seems in a situation that no one would be upset for people for being having a negative mind frame at that time. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself. That's what I had to do for myself. Early in 2017, I was in a situation that I didn't want to be in, getting ready to go through my second divorce, financially not where I want to be. I said, okay, I could continue to be angry. I can embrace exactly where I'm at right now. As screwed up as I've made it, what can I do now to rebuild the life that I want for myself? And I went on a mission every single day. And you know what? It doesn't happen every day. You still get up and you want to do it every day, but some days it's just tough, man. It's tough. And that's okay. But make 9 out of 10 days the days where you're adding another layer to the life that you want to build, because we know that there's tough days. But every single day you got to ask yourself, now what? Now what can I do to make this situation better? And then you kind of get out of the mindset of, man, damn, this is a hole. This is, something that I didn't ask for, or something that I caused on myself, and get out of that depressive state and get in a state of moving forward. So that's what I would tell anybody that's in a tough situation. And, I know people sit back and it's like, yeah, that's easy for you to say, but I've been there, I've done that, and everything is relative. My problems are relative to me, like your problems are relative to you.
Absolutely.
It's all the same.
Absolutely.
They're all the same. So that's what I would tell people.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're going through, what the other person is going through. To them, it's just as big. For what one person's a cancer diagnosis, another person's a lost job. You never know what that situation can do. Right. I know, being a cancer survivor and suffering from Crohn's disease and lymphedema, there's some mornings I wake up and I don't even want to put my foot on the ground. I the pain I deal with, Crohn's disease can be so almost like a choose your own adventure book, except the Crohn's disease is choosing the adventures.
Right.
So that, and it's enough to where you question so much, but God gave us all something unique that only we can give the world. Nothing else, nobody else can be Desmond Clark. Nobody else can be Mark Kelly. And that is because we were created for a specific purpose. That's what
Right.
usually helps me. That's where I find my identity, helps me get out of bed, helps me be able to face some of the things I face. Yesterday was Jackie Robinson Day. One of my personal heroes, a guy that I don't think anyone can really understand how much he's helped in the civil rights movement and just for athletes today. What does Jackie Robinson mean to you?
Well, obviously, Jackie Robinson was before my time, so I only know what I've heard, what I've read.
Mhm.
But I do know this. I know he was the first Black man to play Major League Baseball. And what he had to endure, and more impressively, the way he endured it,
Mhm.
really set the stage to give opportunity to other Black people to step in the door that he left open. Jackie Robinson could have went there, he could have flamed out, and he could have represented an entire race of people the wrong way. And if he would have reacted to some of the things that were done to him, said to him, at that time, people would have said, you know what? Yeah, exactly. That's why we don't let you in here.
Right.
But he knew the importance of what he was doing and what he was trying to accomplish. And I'm grateful to him for that, because it could have been somebody else and they could have slammed the door shut because they didn't handle it the right way. But he handled everything perfectly. And he left the door open for many of us to come through and continue on down that path that he set for thousands. So I am grateful that he was the one that was chosen for that job. And I'm grateful for him for being the person that he was, to set the example for many others.
Two things before I let you go. Number one is, who was your favorite athlete growing up? And the second thing is, what would you tell to a young person who comes to you and he says, Mr. Clark, I'm really wondering what to do as far as where my talents lie, what I can do to take responsibility and not be a victim. Why don't you start with the first question first?
I don't know. I had a lot of athletes growing up. I don't think I had a favorite. I know I was a big Walter Payton fan. I was a big Tony Dorsett fan.
Wow.
I was a big Randall Cunningham fan. I was a big Michael Jordan fan. Man, it was a lot of. I mean, I was a person that I watched sports all the time as a kid. So I had a lot of athletes out there that I looked up to. Those people come to mind right away, and some great ones in there. But I would tell a young person who is going down this path, it's really not about the people that you see on TV. I look at these people and I looked at them for exactly what they were, great athletes, because I didn't know them as people. Don't be fooled by that, because you can lift somebody up so high that you don't know, and then be crushed when you find out that they're not the people who you thought they were. For me, it was about people who I could reach out and touch, people who I can go and talk to every day. It was about the Coach Jacksons that picked me up in his orange beetle bug to take me to school, and Coach Joyner, who rolled up on me in a station wagon and made me play center for my junior high team. It was about Coach Joe, who gave me like principle number one of principles of winning. All you have is your name and your word, son. That's what he told me. It was about the Coach Jones that, I played basketball with, and he pushed us so hard, and we were super talented, but he didn't let us win on talent alone. It was about those type of people. It was about Miss Wright, who was my third grade teacher, who, she told me this when I was 28 years old, and I was, she just walked into my my golf event unannounced. I didn't know she was coming, and she said, "I want to talk." I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she got up there and she presented me with an award. But the thing that touched me the most is when she said, this boy was in my third grade class, and I knew that it was something about him, that if he stayed on the right path, he was going to build a good life for himself. And she said, ever since he left my third grade class, I contacted every single teacher who taught him and said, take care of him, make sure that he has everything that he needs to be successful. And she said, once he got to high school, I called the principal and I told the principal that if this kid didn't go to college, you will be sleeping on the couch for the rest of your life.
Wow.
High school principal was her husband.
I wouldn't imagine who else you could say that to, but yeah, wow.
But who does that?
Right. No, absolutely.
You know,
right. Well, it says a lot about you, though, that she would take that interest in you.
Those type of people have more influence on your life than any other athlete that you can even talk about.
Right.
Athlete can be someone that, I always talk about having a vision, that overall vision. That could be the athlete. You want to be an athlete? Yes. Look at Michael Jordan. He could show you what being a great athlete is all about. But when you have a vision, you also got to have behaviors, and you got to also have, not behaviors, but beliefs. You got to also have actions to get there. So it's those teachers, those coaches, those people in your neighborhood, those people in your community that shape your beliefs and shape your actions. And those are the most important things to getting you to your vision. So that's what I would tell a young person.
Oh, we can obviously see why you're a motivational speaker. You can see and hear everything you're saying, and it's motivating me as we talk. Tom Brady going to Tampa Bay. I made an argument that Brady could be the greatest athlete that ever played any sport, with the fact that he's still in his 40s. Still in his 40s. Yeah, he's still in his 40s, and he's still doing things that he did better than he was in his 20s. Guys like Jordan, Babe Ruth, Gretzky, they stopped at 38, 39. That's why I'm saying that, is that still 43. Yes, his stats are the same when he was at 25. How do you think he's going to do at Tampa Bay?
Who knows, man? I hope he does well. Tampa Bay is my hometown team. I grew up in Lakeland, Florida, so I like to see him go down there. And really, I'm a fan of greatness. Mm-hmm. When the Patriots were winning all of their championships, I was a fan of that, even though I was playing, I was playing in the NFL during a lot of those championships. So I hope he goes and continues to be great. The last thing that you want to see is someone kind of flame out, like your old boxing champs that keep coming back way past the prime and end up getting knocked out. You don't want to see that. He's someone that I admire, even though he's someone that I played against. But he's someone that I admire for his dedication to himself and to the sport. Mm-hmm. That's something that I could get behind, regardless of opponent or anything otherwise. The dedication, the excellence, the time, the discipline that he puts into it, that's something that people can look to and say, you know what, let me take these attributes and let me put those in my game, and let's see how good I can be. I can enjoy anyone who can do that for a sport or for themselves.
So was it Belichick or was it Brady that gave them the success?
So I'm biased. I'm a player, right? And even when people ask me about the game today, I'm either going to put the blame on the players or I'm going to give the players credit. Because here's the thing. You can have great schemes. You can be a great coach. But it takes the players to execute it. And if you don't have good players, I don't care how great of a coach you are, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So I'm going to say Brady because he's a player. But for me, that's not demeaning the coach, because you can be a great player, and guess what? If you're in the wrong system, you're not going to maximize your potential.
Right.
But I put more of a premium on the players executing, because you can have a mediocre system but have great players, and they elevate that system.
Wow. It's all I can do is look at Belichick before he got there, and especially if you look at that 2001 season, the Patriots lost game 1 to the Bengals that year. The Bengals in the 90s and 2000, I mean, they were bad. And to lose that game to them, and then they lose to the Jets, being a Jet fan, to have the opinion I have of Brady kind of riles a lot of feathers. But like you said, I recognize greatness for what it is. If Mo Lewis did not change history that day, I do not think Belichick makes it out of that year. I think that because they were 5-11 the year before, he didn't have the greatest coaching career before that. To me, there's a chance if the Patriots wind up 6-10, 5-11 again in 2001, he might be fired, and then we would never know. So Mo Lewis, I always thought the people in New England should build a statue for Mo Lewis and recognize his role in New England's history, kind of like Christopher Columbus, the first people that came over and discovered America, or, any, Carl Yastrzemski, any Red Sox, a Patriot great deserves to be mentioned, I think, Mo Lewis in that sentence.
Yeah, no, I know. I never thought about it that way. The guy who changed history for the
Changed
Patriots.
history, yeah. Not only that, but the Red Sox, too. The Red Sox didn't win before that. Right. that was September 23rd, 2001. Red Sox, all of a sudden, 2004, become the first baseball team to rally from 3-0 down. You know, that's more prevalent now. But back then, there were two teams that did that, the 1975 Islanders and the 1942 Maple Leafs, I believe. So that didn't happen. Now you see, the Flyers done it one time. The Kings, when they won the Stanley Cup, they did it one time. So it happens more now. But, he changed all of New England. It's amazing. Bruins win the Cup, Celtics win, come back, now win championships, all that stuff, end the curse. They start beating the Yankees. Thank you, Mo Lewis. But I thought that was funny. But Desmond, would you tell people where they can find you now on social media, and if there's anything else you need to say or want to say in promoting your book or anything else?
Yeah, you can find me on social media, Instagram at Des Clark. That's DEZCLARK, the number 88. So Des Clark 88. You can find me on Twitter at Des Clark 88. Facebook, Desmond Clark. You'll see a picture of, I think, me and my. No, I don't know who's on there, but you'll know when you see it. It's a picture of me. And then on LinkedIn at Desmond Clark also. But yeah, my book is coming out April 20th. And go out and support the book. My first goal is to be an Amazon top seller. I know that's not like the biggest credential that you can have, but it's one that I've never had before. So it's a step for me and a goal for me and a mile marker. So I want to be an Amazon top seller. And really, man, not just buy the book because of that. If you're a person that wants to be better and a person that always says, hey, I can learn from other people, a person that wants to transfer knowledge that you learn from other people to help other people be better. This is a book that does all of that for people, I believe. And I had 100 people to already read it, and the feedback that I got back, one time it literally brought me to tears that for what somebody had to say about the book, because you never know how you're going to touch someone. You never know how somebody is going to look at your experiences and take that and make it their own and do something special with it. So, man, I think it's a good book. I'm biased, but I'll be interested to hear what people have to say after they read the book. And I'm so accessible. I put my phone number all over the place, 863-581-5161. Don't be afraid to call it.
That's risky right there, yeah.
This phone right here is not like a bat phone that's somewhere and somebody else is answering it. Reach out to me. I love to communicate and interact with just people. I believe a lot of times people look at athletes and think that, we're bigger than just normal people. We're not. We're just normal people. And for myself, I get so much inspiration out of just talking to people and hearing the feedback and having different dialogue and conversations. A lot of that is the content that I put in my books and that I go out and I speak to. So, yeah, if you see me out, dive in, man. Just come over, say hello, say what's up, and I guarantee you it'll be a great experience. And yeah, and I appreciate everybody who has already went out and bought the ebook. I appreciate those people doing that. I went from number 1,200 to number 23 in the course of 48 hours on Amazon, and I'm still fighting to get to number 1.
Wow, I could use the help of my book, and nothing like what your book has done. But
work, man. I've been pushing. I was up at 1:30 last night sending out individual text messages, asking people to, and emails, asking people to support and giving them reasons why and going back and forth with them. So it's a lot of work.
No, it is a lot of work. The book, again, is Principles of Winning: 5 Keys to Create a Standard of Excellence. Desmond, it's been an absolute honor to have this chance to interview you. God bless you, and look forward to connecting with you in the future.
I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to be on your platform and promote everything that I love and I stand for.
God bless you.
That's all right.
All right, good, man. Everything was really good.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know when it's ready and when we put it up. And thank you so much, Desmond.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you.
Yep. God bless.